So this is part 2 of our GS 108 Introduction to French. And by the end of this lesson, you'll be able to recite the French alphabet with correct pronunciation, pronounce the 4 accent marks, and explain what each one changes. You'll be able to produce the nasal sounds that do not exist in English or Yoruba, and you'll be able to read simple French words aloud without guessing and count confidently from 0 to 100. But before we move on, let's quickly do a quick recap of our last lecture. That is salutation and um, days of the week. Le jour de la semaine, days of the week. So before we go further, remind yourself of the greetings from part 1. We talk about bonjour, we talk about comment ça va, and the 7 days of the week. Today we crack the code that has probably been frustrating you already. Why French words never sound the same way they are spelled and how to fix that. Then we go further still because by the end of this lesson you will be able to count from 0 to 100. So let's quickly talk about salutation. I told you that bon means good and we have two bon. We have feminine and masculine. I hope you can recall as I'm saying them. We have soir, and I told you that whenever you see o high in French, it is pronounced as wa wa. So we have soir, which means evening, and we have nuit, which means evening. That is nuit. We have au revoir. We have sia. We have Ashante, we have many things there that I mentioned that day, and how you can present yourself. I talk about se présenter, and that's where I talk about your name. You can either say je m'appelle, so somebody can help you. Comment tu t'appelles? Comment tu t'appelles? Comment tu t'appelles means what is your name, or what are you called, or what do you call yourself. Then you can go on to say je suis. Je suis means I am. Je m'appelle means my name is. Je suis Ebenezer Oluwagbenga Adeyefa. Konosu Big Eben. Konosu means well known. Are you getting it now? Then you can go on to talk about your nationalities and your age. Je suis Nigerian. I am a Nigerian. J'ai 24. 24 means 20 means 20, cat means 4. So I am 24 years old. So in French, I told you in our first class that you don't you are not 24 years old. You cannot say you are such years old. You only have that age. I don't know if you get that. If you do not recall very well, I implore you to please quickly go back to the lesson 1 or part 1 of our GS 108 Introduction to French lecture. So you can have a glimpse of what I'm talking about in respect to uh, greetings, that is salutation in English language. Then we talk in French. Then we talk about uh, le jour de la semaine. Le jour de la semaine, that is days of the week, where I talk about lundi. I told you that in English, days of the week, the first day of the week in English is Sunday. That is dimanche. However, in French, diverse is the case. Dimanche is not the first day of the week. It's not the first day of the week in French. Lundi, which is Monday, is the first day of the week in French. So after lundi we have mardi. Mardi. Mardi is Tuesday. And after mardi we have mercredi. Mercredi, that is Wednesday. And after mercredi we have jeudi. Jeudi, that is Thursday. And after Thursday we have vendredi. Vendredi, you can see from that pronunciation, Friday. Then we have samedi. From that spelling too, we have Saturday. And Sunday means dimanche. And I could remember I I used some method to teach in that part 1, that if you can remember the the gods, the planet, because French uses the planets to make their days of the week. You'll be able to remember very, very well. All right, that's by the way. Today we want to talk about l'alphabet français. L'alphabet français. L'alphabet français. Alphabet in French. So French uses same 26 letters as English. Don't forget, English has an alphabet, just one alphabet, but 26 letters. Just one alphabet, but 26 letters. So French uses same 26 letters as English, but almost every letter is named and pronounced differently. So learning these French names properly matters more than it seems, because whenever a francophone spells something aloud, either a name, an email address, a phone number, they use these names, not the English ones. So that is why it is very important that you have to know them as a person learning French. So now we start without wasting much of our time. We start with l'alphabet français, alphabet in French. So there is a kind of interwoven or relationship, or let me say discrepancies between Yoruba way of pronouncing their alphabet and French way of pronouncing their alphabet. However, there are some differences. There are some differences and there are some similarities. So let's start from the first alphabet in French. Instead of you saying A as it is in English, you say A. So which is very close to the Yoruba A. So say A. So instead of you saying B, you don't say B, you say B. B, he, B. So we have A, B. Then you don't say C, you say say. A, B, C. So you don't say D, you say D. A, B, C, D. But something will change when you get to E. You don't pronounce the he as E as it is in English. Are you getting this? I say U, say U. I don't know if you get that. Say U, U. So that is the correct pronunciation. So let's take it from the beginning. A, B, C, D, E. A, B, C, D, E. Then we go to F. So it is correctly pronounced as F as it is in English. Then what is known as G in English is not pronounced as G here. It is pronounced as J. So it is A, B, C, D, E, F, J. A, B, C, D, E, F, J. I hope we are still on the same page. All right. So let's go to E. A, B, C, D, E, F, J, E. So it is not I as it is in English. It is E, like that of Yoruba. E. Then we have Ka, he, Ka. Then we have H. Don't be, resist the urge to say H in French. It is pronounced as ash, hash in French. Hash, hash. Then let's go to hem. So I think I'm very sorry. I think um there is a misarrangement in this thing. I don't know why it happens like this in the table, but please just let us follow. It should be L hem hen. But I think there's a kind of disarrangement. But just please play with me. Right? So we have hash, hash. So we have hem. Then what you know as G in English is not going to be pronounced as G in French. Don't forget J. Uh, sorry, G is not pronounced as G. It is pronounced as J. Then what you know as J is not going to pronounce as J. As is in Jollof in English. You are not going to pronounce it that way in French. I don't know if you know the correct pronunciation of measure. Please take note of that. You want to say garage. You want to say camouflage. That's That is the correct pronunciation of their J here in French. So you don't say J like in Jollof. You say J. You say J. That is the correct pronunciation. J. J. I don't know if you get that. J. Then we have hell. We have L. It should be hell, hem, hen. But because of that disarrangement, just play with me. You can properly write them out in your notes, then you pronounce it accordingly. All right. So we have N, then we have pay, then we have O. So in French, you don't say R, you rather say hair, hair. So from the back of the throat, you say hair. Excuse me, you say hair. Then this is Q. You don't pronounce as Q, you say Q, Q. It's like Q plus U. That's how French pronounces it. Say Q, Q. Then let's move on to S. Then S. It should be T. Sorry, it should be STU. I think just permits that misarrangement. So we have S, then we have U. U. It's different from U. Don't forget E in English, in French is pronounced as U. So this one is U, 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 EW, U. Are you with me, people? So U, then after is to be STU, STU, right? Then we have T, 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 T. Then we have V. You know, V should come before W, but because of that disarrangement. So in French, you don't say V, you say V, V. Then W that you know in English will now turn to W because it is believed that it is 2V, right? So it is 2V. According to French, it is believed that it is 2V joined together to make W. So V is pronounced as V, then W is going to be W. So double V, double V. So W. Are you with me? Then we have Y is not pronounced as Y in English. It's pronounced as Y or Y, 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 Y. Then we have um then we have X. What you know as X is pronounced as X in French. Then we have Z. Then we have Z. I hope we understand that with the little explanation. If eventually anything is not clear to you, please you can put it in the comment section. I have created a group which I will add you to, and you can continue the teaching from there, and you'll be able to ask the question. And I'm using this opportunity to tell you that please subscribe to this channel and share to other colleagues of yours. And it's going to be segmented into parts. I'll be taking it one after the other. All right. Say the alphabet aloud twice, straight through, before moving on. This is the single fastest way to make different sounds feel natural in your mouth. So let's go to the marks, accent marks in French. So you'll be able to pronounce words correctly whenever you see them. The first one on our list is egg. We call it egg. A son egg. A son egg. So it is whenever you see this sign on any words, see it will down, it will practically turn the pronunciation to A. It will practically, we call it egg. It will practically turn the pronunciation to A. Whenever you see that mark on any word, on any letter, it will practically turn it to A. So you see the example here. See, you don't say etudiant, you say a tudian, and etudiant means students. Students. So let's go to the second accent or accent mark. We call it, the first one is grave or grave, while the second one is circumflex. So whenever you see the first one, you see the first accent that we talk about turns to the left. The second one turns to the right. The one that turns to the right will change the pronunciation of a letter to he. So you don't say me, you say me. Me is your mother. Your mother means meh. So you say meh. Like you want to say meh, like calling a goat meh. So you say meh. And circumflare also sound as meh, and that's why they put them together. Say fair, fair. Are you getting this? I say fair. So fair is like your brother, right? Then the third one is sedil. Sedil. It is the mark or accent mark that will be under a letter. In most occasions, it comes under C, and whenever you see that C, it turns that C from C to S. So let's take the example. Instead of say français or français, say, you say français, say, say. So you can't say Francis, Francis. No, it will be Francais because that accent mark has automatically turned that um, letter to S. S. Then the last one is tremor. Tremor. What is the function of tremor? It forces the two vowels to be pronounced separately. When you have two pronouns in a word, you and they use tremor, you have to pronounce them separately. What do I mean? You don't pronounce them together. Even if they are joined together, you don't say they are long ho or long e. You have to pronounce those vowel letter separately. So example is no hell. In a normal sense, you could have pronounced as no, null. But because of that tremor, you say no, hell. You have to pronounce them separately, the two vowel letters that are there. You have to pronounce them separately. I hope we get this. If you do not get, please take your time to listen to it over and over again, over and over again. A egg means a. It turns a letter to a automatically. So grave and circumflex turn to letter to a. The pronunciation of a letter to a. Sedi turn to from C to S. Soft S. Then Treman makes a vowel letters to be pronounced separately as you see them in a word. In a word. Alright, so Etudiant and Etudiant are pronounced differently. Leaving out an accent when you write is therefore a genuine spelling error, not a harmless shortcut. So it will be Etudiant because of that egg mark that is on it. We turn that E to A, so it is Etudiant, not Etudiant. 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 So that's all about that. I wouldn't want us to really waste most of our time on that nasal sound. You can read it because what UI is going to ask you is the practical aspect of French, some questions that have to do with days, numbers, and the likes. So let's quickly go to number, low number, numbers. So low those zero are 100. So numbers from 0 to 100. Numbers from 0 to 100. Please, I need your attention in this place, and you have to be very, very attentive. So from let's start from number 1 to 10 first. From number 1 to 10. That one is not difficult at all. If you had a privilege to learn French in your primary school or your secondary school, they say let's say it starts from 0, right? That's 0. Then we have on, do, tra, cat. Hon means 1. Hon. Do means 2. Tra. And I told you the other time that whenever I see O and I together in French, it is pronounced as wa. Wa. Then we have on, do, tra, cat. Cat. So QUATRE cat. That is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 rather. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So on, do, tra, cat. On, do, tra, cat. Then sync. So I think we will talk about the nasal sound. We will have got whenever I see I and say so sync means 5. Why 6 is correctly written as 6 in English and it is equally pronounced as 6 in English in French. So sync, sits. Then set is now 7. Ut is 8. Nuf is 10. Why dix is what? Is 10. So let's take it from 1. Horn, do, tra, cat, senk, sit, set, eat, nuf, this. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now let's go to 11 to 15. 11 to 15. So from 11, things change. Things change. It is like you want to say one, but you say hans. So you say hans. It's like you are repeating the same circle, but you are changing the pronunciation and the wordings now. So instead of saying one, you say ons, that is 11. So you say those instead of do. So those, that is 12. Tres, that is 13. 14, like cat means 4. But 14 will now be 14. So cinq is 5, but here it means quinze, quinze. Then 6 will now be says, says in French. So we have says. So but in 17, French does not have 17. From 17 upward, we have a little problem. French does not have 17 like English language. So French needs to join something together to make their own 17. So French needs to join 10 and 7 together to make 17. So that's why we have this set. And don't forget, when I first started, I said hon, de, trois, quatre, cinq, right? Hon, de, trois, quatre, cinq, six, sept, huit, neuf, dix. This is 10, right? This is 10 and set is 7. So the combination of both 10 and 7 give us 17, right? So in French, you have to join 10 and 7 together to make 17. You have to join 10 and 8 together to make 18. You have to join 10 and 9 together to make 19. Then after that, we have 20. So from your sets, which is 16, you move to 17. That is D set 10 7. This it 10 8. This nuff 10 9. Are you getting it? And then you go to veng, veng is 20. So from 16 upward, notice the pattern. This says is literally 10 7. This youth is 10 8. And this north is 10 9. Horns to says, that is from 11 to 16, simply have, you know, you should, simply have to be memorized. But from 17 onward, French becomes addition, not vocabulary. I don't know if you get that. From your 1 to 16, that is says, you can memorize that. But from your 17 upward, French becomes what? It becomes addition. You have to join things together to make a number. So let's start from 21 now to 69. So from 21 to 69, French counting is simple. It is decade plus unit, joined by a hyphen. The only twist is at the, you know, number one, number one mark, where the hyphen becomes air, which air means and, et means and in French. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. We stop at veng, that is 20. So if you want to say 21, how do you say it? You say vingtihan, and that is the only difference there. Because you want to start from 21, you say vingtihan, 20 and 1. Vente. Hey, et in French means a. So it means and. Hand. That's what it means. That's the literal meaning. Et in French is pronounced as hey, but it means and. So I say from 21 to 2069, French counting is simple. That is decade plus unit will be joined together with a hyphen. The only twist is at the first mark, like number one, like maybe 20 and 21. You don't say vendo. You don't say 22. You say 20 and 1. And that's number one. Where the hyphen becomes a, that is and. So you don't say vent an, you say ventehan. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. So these are the decades that we have. We have veng, that is 20, 2 decades, trent, that's 3 decades, current, that is 4 decades, secant, that is 5 decades, soixante, that is 6 decades. Are you with me? So now, if you are plus them with number one, you don't say veng an, you don't say trent an, you don't say current an, you don't say secant an, you don't say soixante an. No, you say vente han. Up to 20 now. So we have veng. After you have counted from 1 to 16, I told you that something changed in 17 to 20. Then we have 20 is what? Veng, right? So we have Veng Te Han, that is 21. Then we have Vendo, that is 22. We have Ventra, that is 23. We have Venkat, that is 24. We have Vensenk, that is 25. We have Venk6, that is 26. We have Venksect, that is 27. We have Venkut, that is 28. We have Venknuff, that is 29. Then we go to 30. 30 is Tront, Trente, Tront. So we go again from the beginning. Han, that is 31. Now, so Han, that is 31. Do, that is 32. Tra, that is 33. Catch, that is 34. Tront Senk, that is 35. Tront 6, that is 36. Tront Set, that is 37. Tront Ut, that is 38. Tront North, that is 39. Then we go to 40, that is Quarant. So Quantehan, that is 41. Quant Do, that is 42. Quant Tra, that is 43. Quant Quarant or Quant Catch, that is 44. Quant Senk, that is 45. Quant 6, that is 46. Quant Set, that is 47. Quant Youth, that is 48. Quant Nef, that is 49. Then we go to 50, that is sequant, please, sequant. So sequantehan, that is 51. Sequant do, that is 52. Sequantra, that is 53. Sequant quatre, that is 54. Sequant cinq, that is 55. Sequant six, that is 56. Sequant sept, that is 57. Sequant eight, that is 58. Sequant neuf, that is 59. Then we go to 60. Soixante, soixante, soixante. Soixante-un, that is 61. Soixante or soixante-deux, that is 62. Soixante-trois, that is 63. Soixante-quatre, that is 64. Soixante-cinq, that is 65. Soixante-sept, that is 67. Soixante-eight, that is 68. Soixante-neuf, that is 69. But from 70 upward, something changed, which I want you to take note of. So at 70, French stopped inventing new decade word for a while. Instead of a fresh word, it starts stacking numbers on top of soixante, that is 60. Are you with me? And quatre-vingts, that is 80. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. When you get to 70, when you get to 70, instead of you using um instead of you using all this one on, you don't use that again. You have to start adding you start inventing new decades word for a while, right? So you have to stop inventing new decades. You are not going to be using decade again. In 70, you are going to say 60 plus 10 to make 70 in French. To make 71, you are going to say 60 plus 11. So instead of you saying so as you said, there's no specific word to be precise for 70 in French. The same way we do not have specific word for 17. Don't forget, when we got to 17, I told you that you have to join two numbers together, that is 10 and 7 make 17. This set, I don't know if you can still remember. So the same thing is going to happen in 70. Soixante is 60, right? So you are going to say soixante-dix, that is 60 plus 10 give us 70. So that's what you are going to say now when you want to say 70. So your 70 will now be 70. I don't know if you are getting that. 70. That is 60 plus 10. Then your 71 is now going to be 60 plus 11. Don't forget your 11 is ans, your 12 is does, your uh your 13 is it trends. So 70 is now going to be 60 plus 10. 71 is now going to be 60 plus 11, and your 72 will now be 60 plus 12. Your 73 is going to be 60 plus 13, until like that till you get to 80. All right, so let's continue. 70 now. Soixante-dix. 60 plus 10, that is 70. Soixante-onze. No, don't forget what I told you initially. When we want to say 1 plus 1, you have to use a instead of hyphen. That is a and 11. 70 and 11 makes 71. Please don't let us forget that. So soixante-onze, that is 70 plus 11. But when you move from ones, that is 1, you are going to be using hyphen. I said that initially. So you don't say soixante dose again, say soixante dose. That is 60, sorry, 60 plus 12 makes 72, right? Then we have soixante-treize. 60 plus 13 give us 73. So soixante-quinze. Soixante-quinze. I think something is wrong here. It should be soixante-quatorze, because I think it's a misplacement. Soixante-quatorze, that is 60 plus 14 give us 74. Then after that we have soixante-quinze, that is 60 plus 15 give us uh 75. Then let's go to plus 16, that is 16, abi. Soixante-seize. Soixante-seize, that is 60 plus 60 plus 60 plus 16, that is 76. And don't forget, we do not have a specific number for 17 in French. So instead of you saying that 60 plus maybe 17 anyway, our 17 in French is 17, abi. So you are going to say 77. I don't know if you get that. That will give us 77. So we are going to say 77. 77. The set. Everything will be hyphenated together. So between that soixante, you are going to have hyphen with this, and with set, we are still going to have another hyphen. Then we now have soixante-dix-huit, that is 78. Then you have good soixante-dix-neuf, that is 79. 79. Then how do you now produce 80 in French? 80 in French is like you are going to have another table entirely. So from 70 upward, things become complicated. So you have to be very, very careful on how you produce them. So 80, if you want to make 80 in French, you have to say cat veng. Cat veng. That is 4 times 20. You are going to turn from times now. You are not going to plus. You times together. To make 80, you have cat, that is 4. Then it's going to be hyphenated with veng, that is 20. So our 80 in French is cat veng. So you're not even going to say cat veng. You are going to say cat. S must be there when you are writing it, because they may use that one to confuse you in your exam. They may just put cat veng without S there. But the reason is that we don't pronounce S at the end of a word in French. That's why it is not pronounced. But you must show it in the written form. So cat vent means what? 4 20s. 4 20s. 4 times 20. That's why it is 20s. You always see S there to show that it is not 120, it is 4 20s. Joined together makes what? 80. So having said soixante-dix-neuf, that is 60, 10, 9. So that is 60 plus 19, which gives us what? 29. If you want to say 8, you say cat veng. Cat, cat veng. Please, the R is very, very important in French, but because you are not really dealing with the pronunciation, you are dealing with the written form. So cat veng, that is 80. Then if you want to say 81, don't forget that I always say that. So in 81, you are going to remove that A. So kat veng an, kat veng han. That is 420 plus 1. 420s plus 1. 420s plus 1 give us 80. I don't know if you are with me, people. If it is not clear, please request the link to the group so I'll be able to take my time also to explain to you explicitly on that group. So kat veng an means what? 20 420s plus 1. So kat veng do 420s plus 2. That is 82, right? Then we now have kat veng tra. Kat veng tra 420s plus 3. Kat veng tra. Then we now go to kat veng kat. Kat veng kat. That is 20 20 420 plus 4. That is 84. Then we now go to, please, I told you that there's a kind of misarrangement. Now go to kat veng senk. That is 420 plus 5. Senk is 5, right? So then we go to 6 now. Kat veng 6. That is 420 plus 6. That is 86, right? Then we go to 7. That is kat veng set. Everything must be hyphenated together. You see the way it's in the middle. You see the way it is being hyphenated together. It is very, very important because those are the things they are going to test your knowledge on. Then going to 80, we are talking about 87. That is kat veng set. Let's go to 80 seat 88 rather. It's going to be kat veng ut. Kat veng ut. Then let's go to 89. Kat veng nuf. Kat veng nuf. Kat veng nuf. Then let's go to 90 now. How do you say 90 in French? So in 90 in French, what you are going to say is that kat veng this. 80 is kat veng. That is 420s. Abi, kat is 4, veng is 20. So that is 80. You are not going to add 10 to it the way you did to 60 when you want to make 70. I don't know if you get it. We don't have specific word for 70 in English in French. So you have to join 60 plus 10 to make 70. So what you are going to do here also in 90 is that you are going to join 10 together with 80 to make 90. And 80 in French is kat veng, right? So you're not going to say kat veng this. 420s plus 10 makes 90. So that's what you see here at the last column here. Kat veng this. And don't forget, after this, you are going to be ordinating the number. So you don't have a specific word for 11. Say ounce, Abby. So 91 is not going to be kat veng ounce. Kat veng ounce. 420s plus 11 makes 91. Kat veng dose. 420s plus 2 from plus 12 makes what? 92. Kat veng dose. Are you with me, people? So kat veng tres. 420 20s plus 13 give us 93. Then kat veng 14. 14 is 14, right? That is 420s plus 14 give us 94. Then kat veng 15. So that is 420s plus 15 give us 95. Though let's go to 60 now. Kat veng says. So that is 420s plus 16 give us 96. Then let's now go to 17. Don't forget, we don't have a specific word for 17 in French, as I've been saying. You have to join this and set together. That is 6 and 7. So if you want to say 97 in French, you are going to say kat veng this set. Kat veng this set. So that is 420s plus 17 this set. That is 97. Then if you want to say 98, kat veng this ut. That is 98. Then let's go to 99. Kat veng this naf. So 100 will now be cent. 100 will be what? Cent. 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 That's 100. And that's where we are going to stop today. That's where we're going to stop today. Please, anything, paraventure, anything is not clear to you, let me know in the comment section. I'm going to send a link to you. Then you join the group that I've created so you'll be able to learn more if paraventure anything is not clear to you. Please, I'm taking this time to tell you to please subscribe to this channel, watch and share to others if you find this interesting. Thank you.